Tafsir.
This isn't magic. These are real.
Where's the YouTube link? Okay, Bismillah, read.
الذين آمنوا بالحياة الدنيا يوم القيامة. Say, make haram the beauty of Allah, the one who is for his worshippers, and the wholesome things for sustaining. Say, it is for those who believe this worldly life, specifically on the day of Qiyamah. Just like that, bring the basis of spiritual law.
Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So we were discussing thus far that the people of the mushrikeen of pre-Islam, they would believe that you can't eat during the period of Hajj, and then you can't wear your clothes. So Allah Ta'ala debunks these two things. He says, no, who said you can't wear clothes? Allah Ta'ala has made clothes halal for you. Allah Ta'ala has made it permissible for you. And then in the course of it, Allah Ta'ala also explains that, look here, you must wear your beautiful clothes when you go to the haram. You mustn't be naked, etc. And then with that, Allah Ta'ala, because they would consider certain type of foods haram at the time of Hajj. We said dasama means maybe it was like a butter or like a fat. So Allah Ta'ala says, no, that you don't have to adulterate and interpolate the deen. That which Allah Ta'ala has made haram, that is haram. And that which Allah Ta'ala has made halal is halal. So eat from the halal things. Kulu washrabu wa la tusrifu. Do not go overboard. Do not go overboard. And then Allah, in the course of that also, Allah Ta'ala, we learn from that also some adab and etiquette at the time of praying, that you should be neat, smart, you should be clean, etc. You shouldn't be untidy. We learn some of that. Now the next verse also is an extension of what has been discussed earlier. That is that Allah Ta'ala has made what Allah Ta'ala has made halal for you. You can benefit it in moderation. What Allah Ta'ala has made haram for you, you must abstain from it. Do not go overboard. So the verse we do, كل من حرم زينة الله التي أخرج لعباده والطيبات من الرزق. Say, who has prohibited the adornment Allah Ta'ala has brought forth for his servants and the wholesome things of sustenance, right? And the wholesome, okay. So warned in the first verse are those who practice excess. Yeah. Okay. So the previous verses, we are warned against excesses with deen. I tell you the salient feature of our religion, Ad-Din al-Muhammadiyya, Ad-Din al-Ahmadiyya, is that it is free of excesses. That's why we done that hadith in Mishkat Sharif also, فَتِلْكَ بَقَايَاهُمْ فِي الْبِيعَةِ وَالْمَصَانِعِ. That because of the excesses, what happened? The monasteries, the churches, etc. are lying empty. So our deen is free of excesses. It is workable. It is practicable. It is not something which has, like I told you, from the one extreme where everything becomes haram, like how the Catholics, you're not allowed to marry. Then on the other hand, you get humanism, that anything goes, so long as that you're harming anybody. If you want to marry a dog, you can marry a dog. If you want to marry yourself, you can also marry yourself. Believe it or not, believe it or not, you can even get married to yourself. You can even get married to your father. You can get married to your mother. All that funny things. So Islam is not on that extreme where good, wholesome, beneficial things are made haram, but it is not on that extreme where harmful things are made permissible. وَخَيْرَ الْأُمُورِ أَوْسَطُهَا وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. We've made you the moderate. So that was what was discussed earlier. So warned in the first verse are those who practice excess in actions of worship and introduce self-invented restrictions to it. They abstain from things made halal by Allah and go on to make them haram on themselves and call it an act of obedience and worship. Yes, sometimes you need to abstain for something for some reason, maybe a certain food which is not good for your health, whatever. Now you abstain from it. So you abstain from it for medical reasons. That doesn't mean that's a different story. When we say you, something which Allah Ta'ala made halal, you make it haram. You consider it haram. And also we told you not al halal bayn wal haram wa baynahuma mushtabahat. Something is doubtful. So because it's doubtful, you abstain from it. Not that. You say this is not. We're not sure this is halal or haram. We don't know where this meat come from. There's no certification here. We don't know this halal certifying body. So we're not sure if this is halal or this is haram. That is a different story. What we're saying here is something which is openly halal. You're making it haram. You understand what I'm saying? So don't abstain from things by the halal by Allah, go on to make them haram on them and call it an act of obedience and worship to Allah Ta'ala, as was the case of the disbelievers of Makkah, who did not consider wearing clothes in Tawaf during the days of Hajj as permissible, and you think of abstinence from good food made lawful by Allah Ta'ala to be an act of worship. So they stayed away from the halal things and they thought they're doing something great. But instead of doing something great, they were doing something wrong, because they were adulterating, they were interpolating, they were making tahrif of the deen, they were changing the deen. Such people have been sternly reprimanded in a chastising mode by inquiring as to who has made good and becoming dressed great by Allah Ta'ala for servants, and the good and pure foods bestowed by him haram for the people. So here Allah Ta'ala, he says, is saying, "Qul man harrama," like, if you do something, now you never come to madrasa. Who gave you permission to stay absent? Who gave you permission to say that you can say this and you can do that? So it's a stern rebuke. It's a stern rebuke for those people who want to make haram that which is halal, right? Okay, so absence from good dress and tasty food is not the teaching of Allah subhanahu. It's not the teaching of Islam. It does not come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We told you, Inna Allah yuhibbu ayyara ni'amahu ala ibadihi. When Allah Ta'ala has bestowed somebody with something, then within moderation for him to enjoy it, and for Allah Ta'ala to see that benefit on him, that is laudable. It is not right that you behave like you don't have anything. It means that to determine and declare something to be halal or haram is the sole right of the most sacred being that has been created. No one is permitted to interfere in this matter. Therefore, those who consider good dress and good food made lawful by Allah Ta'ala as something haram for themselves deserve the wrath and punishment from Allah Ta'ala. Living in tattered rags, despite having the means, is no teaching of Islam. I repeat that. Living in tattered rags, despite having the means, is no teaching of Islam, right? Nor is it something considered worth of emulation in Islam, as some ignorant people think. Many amongst the early righteous elders and juristic imams of Islam, who Allah Ta'ala has been blessed with good means, would often wear elegant and even expensive dresses. We look at the early scholars of Islam, they wear smart and elegant dresses. Our own master, may the blessing of Allah Ta'ala and peace be upon him, when his means allowed it, has adorned his body with the best of dresses, being Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. According to one narration, once he came out, there was on his blessed body a rida. The price of which was 1,000 dirhams. Subhanallah. He had a cost 1,000 dirhams. As reported by Imam Abu Hanifa, he had used a rida worth 100 guineas. Similarly, Imam Malik always used decent and elegant dress. So I think this year when they say about they're not referring to Nabi Sallam, I think they're referring to, no, it is Nabi Sallam, that's about 1,000 rida, correct, sorry about it. So, as reported by Imam Abu Hanifa, used to wear a rida worth 400 guineas. Similarly, Imam Malik always used decent and elegant dress. For him, someone had taken on himself to provide 360 pairs of dresses only for his use, and a pair which adorn his body for a day would not be used again, because after having been worn for one day, he would give this dress to his student. Interesting here about Hazrat Imam Malik. Somebody was his mu'taqid, he loved him so much. He provided in the year a dress for every single day, a new dress. Imam Malik would wear that dress, mean not a dress, it's a set of clothes. He would wear that, and after that, he would give it to one of his students, and this person would provide another one the next day, right? The reason that the Holy Prophet said, when Allah Ta'ala has blessed a servant of his with extended means, he likes to see the effect of his blessings on things around him, his dress being one of them. Therefore, to let such blessings become visible is also a form of showing gratitude, subhanAllah. We say that when Allah Ta'ala bless you, la in shakartum la azidannakum, that if you show your appreciation, Allah Ta'ala increases you. So here they're saying that one form of showing appreciation, one is, you say, Nashkurullah, we say Allah Ta'ala, and also we know, also you show appreciation by engaging in acts of obedience. But here he's saying another way of showing appreciation to Allah Ta'ala, others, that you must use that. So using the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually a form of appreciation, subhanallah. So if Allah Ta'ala bless you with wealth, you hoarding that wealth, you are not spending it, etc., etc., it means you are not appreciated for the sake of Allah Ta'ala. However, it is necessary to guard against something that is from hypocrisy and exhibitism, and from pride and arrogance. So yes, you use the benefit of Allah Ta'ala, but you should not become proud and arrogant. It means then one should not dress well simply to show off before others or to establish that they were superior or special as compared to them. So here is saying, when you wear such good clothes, it must be that Allah Ta'ala has blessed me with this and I want to enjoy it. Not to show other people, see what I'm wearing, I can afford this, see what I'm driving this, to show other people. It must be for you. This is important for you yourself to enjoy, for you yourself to make your life more comfortable. So whether other people will see you or not, that doesn't matter. So that's the test. If nobody's going to see you and tell you doing that, that means you're doing it for yourself. But you won't do it because other people won't see, that means you're doing it to show people. It mustn't be to show people. It must be purely for your own self. It must be purely for your own self, right? And it's obvious that the righteous elders of the early period were free from such attitudes. So now, when you have this illness that if I wear this, I will spend this, I want to show people, then it's better for you to abstain, because now you are now entering a dangerous water, so to say. As for the reported use of ordinary or patched dress by the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Sayyidina Faruq al-Azam and some other Sahaba among the righteous elders is concerned, he had two reasons. First of all, whatever came in their hands as the income, they would spend it out over the poor and needy and in the pursuit of their religious objectives. So sometimes we know that Nabi sometimes had patches on his clothes. We know also sometimes that as Umar radiallahu ta'ala had patches. So here there's an intibak. How do we reconcile between this, that Allah Ta'ala loves to see his favor upon you, and this that they were wearing tattered clothes, or patched clothes, not tattered clothes, rather patched, tattered is different. Tattered is something which is torn when it's not repaired, but they patched. The correlation between is this, that when as Umar was wearing tattered patched clothes, or Nabi Sallallahu was wearing patched clothes, at that time he had nothing else because he had even. So if he had, he would have worn it. But at that time he never had because he gave away. He gave it away. You understood? For their own person, they would be, so they would يؤثرون على أنفسهم ولو كان بهم خصاصة, right? So for their own person, they would be left with too little to afford a nice dress. They were the leaders of people. They let themselves be in yet as simple and inexpensive bearing as it was, so that others with extended means would get the message that the common people and the poor and needy are not overwhelmed by their financial status. Interesting here. It's saying, like, if you look at as Abu Bakr, as Umar, he led such a simple life because he was the Amirul Mu'mineen, he was the Khalifa. Obviously, whatever he had, he gave away in charity. That's one explanation. And another explanation here is so that he will be a comfort for those who don't have. For those who don't have, this as an interesting incident mentioned about as Umar, that there was, it's famous that you read his history in his time, there was a severe drought. There was a severe drought. And now butter is normally like a luxury for us, you know. When we eat bread, we put butter, and on top of that, we put bologna, we put jam, but that butter in itself was a food. So he said when there was a drought, he said, Wallahi, the lips of Umar will not taste butter until the poorest from amongst the Ummah can also afford butter. And only when things improved and when the drought subsided and now butter became affordable for the ordinary person to afford butter, then he only had butter himself. And he was the Amirul Mu'mineen. So they say sometimes when we see these reasons where these pious people, they dress simply, or maybe sometimes they don't want to stand out, they want to do blend amongst the people. So there was some reason why they would be so simple, etc. You understood? So I told you the first is that was right. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, so there's some what you say is extenuating circumstances, some exception to the rule. They let themselves be in the simple and inexpensive bearing as it was to that, so that others with extended means would get the message, and that the common people, the poor and needy, are not overwhelmed by the financial state. They wanted to be approachable. So from that, also something you learn very, very important is the alim of deen. You need to be approachable. If you driving too fancy car, if you, I'm saying now, overboard now, fancy car, or you living in a over fancy house, or if you are over fancy, poor person got a need, he wants to answer masna, and you see here you pulling up with your by Juma time, you coming to give bayan there, and you pulling up with a big Mercedes Benz, or you are pulling up with a Ferrari there, and you coming to give Juma, for example, and you got gold cuffs and a gold watch, and you got a, and he needs to ask you something, and he sees you, say, can I speak to this guy? You know, he's so this is one of the reasons here. They say, so you as a alim also, yes, you, if Allah Ta'ala has blessed you, if Allah Ta'ala has blessed you, you have a decent car, you have decent clothes, good clothes, all this stuff, but not so extravagant and so exorbitant that you become inapproachable, that you become inaccessible to the people. You understand what I'm saying? So there, see, there's a point. They let themselves be in the simple and inexpensive bearing as it was, so that others with extended means would get the message. So they kept simple. One reason, so that those people who are very wealthy, they mustn't go overboard. They must say, look, the Amir, that's the one. That's the first thing. So that the people of financial means, they must get the message, right? And that common people and the poor and needy are not overwhelmed by their financial status. So you must be approachable. So from this as sometimes you must be approachable. The same thing holds valid in the case of the noble Sufis, the group of rightly guided mystics in Islam who lay primary stress on spiritual purification. When they make new aspirants abstain from food, rest, and tasty food, they really not intend to say that leaving these things off for good is an act of sawab or merit. Far from it, instead of that, they only to put the brakes on the wanton desires of the human self during the initial stages of the quest of truth, that they would pre-prescribe such a regime of prescribing as treatment and medicine. When the aspirant reaches a stage where he has learned to control desires of himself and it can be no more attracted to and snared by what is haram and impermissible, and then at that time all masters and spiritual orders would use and recommend good dress and tasty food like the general body of the early righteous elders. When done at the time of these five blessings of the human existence becomes for them and the source of knowing the Creator achieving the nearest to him. Yeah, Mufti Sahib is giving an answer to another. Sometimes you read stories about, you know, we told you those ulama that, you know, specialize in purifying the insect. Now normally when you go to what you say the spiritual school, they'll tell you a few things. Qillat ta'am, you must eat less. Qillat manam, you must sleep less. Qillat kalam, you must speak less. They say qillat al-ikhtilat ma'ar rijal, associate less with people. And then you must do spiritual exercises. You must do you must eat simple food. So he's saying, how do we reconcile between these things? And here we say, كل من حرم زينة الله التي أخرج لعباده والطيبات من. How do we reconcile between that? how do we reconcile between the two? We say that's what, when you go to a spiritual school, these are like how, you come to madrasa here now, you learn fa'ala, 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 you're learning, but what is your ultimate purpose? Is to learn to read the Quran and understand the Quran. The ultimate purpose is to understand the hadith. So this is a means to something else. This is a means to something else. So similar is saying here, those are just spiritual exercises to rejuvenate. They are medicine. Like how you go to the doctor, he give you medicine. That medicine that medicine is not your food, but because you are ill, that is to repair you, to bring you into good health. So this is to revive your spiritual being, to give you spiritual life, etc. That's what I'm saying. So same thing, these are spiritual exercises. It is the exception to the rule. It is not the rule. So once you've developed yourself spiritually, you've developed your spiritual being, etc., etc., then you can revert to the normal. Like there was one famous story, Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jailani. He had a student who was studying, so he used to give him simple food. He used to give him simple food. So his parent came to complain. He said, Abdul Qadir was eating chicken. Chicken was a luxury. Today's day and age, chicken is not such a big luxury because they mass produce the chicken. They got factories where they just produce. But if you go back in time when they didn't produce chickens like how chicken was a big luxury. It was a massive luxury. That's why even if you go to India, certain places where they don't have this big farm, but now okay, they got this farm all over. If somebody feed you chicken, it's like a big privilege because you have to grow the chicken this chicken you buy here in 6 weeks from a chicken to a complete chicken. But the normal chicken in the farmyard, how long it takes, it grows naturally. As a certain subject matter, all these chickens are unhealthy. It's got hormones, antibiotics, and all that type of thing. So chicken was like a super luxury, was like a super luxury, ultra luxury. So Sheikh was eating chicken, and the student was eating, there's an Indian food called dal. Dal is a simple food, no meat. So he said, Sheikh, you are eating chicken. My son come to study by you. You give him dal. So the Sheikh looked at the bones and bi'ithnillah. And all the bones came together and it came into a chicken and it flew away. He said, the day your son can do this, and he can also eat chicken. In other words, once he goes through the mill and he does the spiritual exercises, then he can also enjoy. So this is the training. So what they're answering here is how do we reconcile between those stories of, the mystics, the Sufis of the past, where they underwent vigorous exercises, they stayed from food, and they dressed simple. Those were just spiritual exercises to develop the spiritual inner self. But once they excel, then it is fine, right? So the sunnah of the Holy Prophet in food and dress, for food and dress, essential will of the Prophet, the Sahaba and the Tabi'in, is that one should not be unnaturally concerned about these. Dress and food was in easy access, good enough and should be used gracefully. If the dress is coarse and the food is dry, there's no need to go to the trouble of finding something better one way or the other. Even if one has to borrow, or the one starts worrying about what one misses so much and one lands itself in some other trouble. So here is a very important point. So why are we saying that to eat well, to dress well, everything it is proven, if Allah Ta'ala has given you, then it's good, mashallah. You can dress well, Allah has given you, you must eat well. But if you don't have it, you don't have, you say, no, but we must dress well. Sunnah is there. I know I have to leave this job, I have to get another job because I'm not practicing on the sunnah of dressing well. Driving an old car, can't, Islam says, "Kul man harrama zinat Allah allati." It was made the beautiful things haram. I have to leave this job. I have to leave this teaching job, this master job. I get too little money. I have to get a job that gives more money so I can practice upon the sunnah. So what he's saying here is no. It doesn't mean that this must become your objective in life. Doesn't mean it must become your objective in life. If Allah Ta'ala has given you, then yes, that's why inna Allah yuhibbu ayyara asara ni'mati. Allah Ta'ala loves it. You will see His favor upon you. If Allah Ta'ala has given you, and now you use it, but it doesn't mean you must go out of your way to acquire it, that you make that the sole objective in your life. So you don't make it the sole objective in your life that you have to get it, etc. And then also you mustn't, while you from the Quran and Sunnah we learn, you must be neat, etc. And you must be smart, but you mustn't be overly obsessive. You get some of these people, especially you get these people, they got some ulama, They got a mirror in their pocket and they got a comb in their pocket. So every few minutes they're taking out the mirror, they're combing their hair, and then every few minutes they're taking. I seen people like this. Don't know. I promise you, I seen people. They've got a neck scarf, so every minute they're checking that scarf is right like this here. And if there's one hair out of place here, they always are making the beard right like this here. There's one crease comes on the kurta. Oh, Kiamat came. One crease came. Now this crease came on the kurta. Now they're looking for the eye. They want to iron. They want to iron their watch quality. They want to iron the kurta. I promise you, I seen people like that. I seen people. Everything must be 100% perfect. So yes, you must be neat. You must be clean. If Allah Ta'ala blessed you, drive a good car, dress well, but don't be overly obsessive about it. Don't be overly obsessive. Mawla Ashraf Ali Tanhi mentions that when I see a person overly obsessive with his external appearance, listen nicely, when I see a person overly obsessive with his external appearance, then I realize that internally he's got nothing in him. So that means a person who is devoid of any spirituality, a person is devoid of the connection of Allah Ta'ala, when he doesn't have that, then he want to put too much emphasis on the outside. He's not worried about the inside. So a person who's putting too much emphasis on his outside, that the beard must be perfect, not one beard must be out of even, and the kurta must not have one crease even, and the buttons must be there, and the gold couplings, and the gold watch, and the shoes must be shining. When a person is overly concerned, then this is a sign that he doesn't have much inside him, doesn't have spirituality, doesn't have nisbat, right? So we're saying not to be overly concerned. Similarly, when good dress and food are naturally available, one should not go to the extreme trouble of spoiling them, avoiding the use. That's the way of speaking of good dress and good food is self-imposed constraint. Very simply, doing the opposite of it is that it is to spoil what is good and to leave it aside in favor of what is bad is also a self-imposed constraint and a blameworthy one. So what he's saying is, one extreme is, I told you, that become the sole obsession in your life. Then you want to use your whole idea is you only want to eat the best. You say, "Kul man harrama zinata al-lailati," and you're using this verse. And then on the other extreme is also this here, that you said you deprive yourself, even though Allah Ta'ala has given you, you're depriving yourself. So you see the two extremes. Okay, there's just a little bit left, inshallah. We will stop. The time is up. We will continue on Monday. So we have to finish the English from here, and then we'll start with the actual Arabic text in Kitab Monday. Stop there. Bas subhanallah wa bihamdihi subhanakallahumma bihamdihi.